Alright guys, we're heading to West Virginia, Wheeling, West Virginia, to do a couple different things on a 97 F-150. Thinks he has a vacuum leak, hesitation concern, misfires, flashing check engine lights. What else do you have? Power door locks I think he might have fixed. Airbag lamp flash codes coming up for a right front crash sensor. I have one in case we need it. A bunch of small stuff like that, but the major concern obviously is the engine hesitation concern. You gotta get that vehicle running properly so you can get around and be reliable. So this one should be mainly diagnostic, small repairs, stuff like that. So it should be a lot easier job, pretty much at this point going forward. It's been pretty rough the last few days with all the suspension work on her knees and all that stuff, and then getting in the hotel so darn late and running out to get pizzas at midnight or whatever just to have food before we go to bed, and stuff like that. So hopefully from this point forward we can have some more videos of the repairs and stuff like that, a few more shots here and there, instead of being so rushed. Basically, like yesterday we had 3 stops we had to go to. We ended up bumping the one stop to the end of the tour because his vehicle wasn't acting up right now. So we're gonna hit it coming back at the very end in South Bend, Indiana there. So stuff like that's been going, a lot of shifting around and stuff like that. But right now we're back on track. This is where I wanted to be, in West Virginia this morning. Take care of it. Hopefully get back to the hotel, which is in Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, at a decent time then. Let's say 7, 8 o'clock instead of 10:30, 11:30, and we can kind of get back on track here and enjoy this trip a little bit more. The point of this trip is to help people, and that's what we're definitely doing. So I'm glad we haven't gotten stuck so far as not being able to repair something or acquire the parts for it. There's been a few close instances, but I have a few kits back there, press kits and ball joint kits, that we use for other purposes, and they really came through for us. So it's a lot of extra tools, a lot of heavy tools, but I'm glad we took them all with us. And these other jobs from this point forward should be a lot easier in general. Just no more on your knees suspension work. So alright guys, we're out here in Wheeling, West Virginia, and we're going to take care of this red F-150 right here. It's got a couple issues with number 7 misfiring, causing the check engine light to flash, Class A misfire, which isn't good for the cats or anything like that, the engine in general. So we're going to go after that one. That's the one that's set. And then over here, down in here, there's a right front crash sensor. See if you can kind of see it in there. We got to change that. I was able to get one from Vintage, so that's nice. We have a brand new one from Ford to put it on there. A lot of times they corrode and start splitting on them because of all the corrosion. It gets seeps inside of there, splits the case, and the seams inside there and shorts out, and then it'll throw a fault code. So we're going to go after a couple things on here. Alright, so we just left our Wheeling, West Virginia stop, and it was definitely an interesting stop. Not only the geographic location, but the kind of work I was doing on the vehicle. The area had all these houses were like on hills, so your backyard may go way down or way up. It's really weird. And then there's like tiered decks in front of a couple of houses, like a deck, the house, and then a deck way down there for the pool. It's pretty cool. So it's definitely an interesting area, kind of tight. And the vehicle I was working was a 97 F-150 that had power door locks that didn't work, misfire, so bad that it had a Class A misfire, and that was on cylinder number 7, and a problem with the right front crash sensor on there. So I ordered a right front crash sensor for it before I left, and I got it. I was able to get one from Vintage that buys all the old parts from Ford. So they have about 76 of them on hand still. I was able to get that one. Good thing it had a problem on the right front, because the left front's not made and not available nowhere. So I was able to get one, and we put it on there, took care of that, no problem. I have a little video on how to do that, so there's not a lot of instructions online, little precautions here and there. So that took care of that, and I actually had cylinder 7 misfire, which is I knew it was the ignition coil straight from busting up the IDS and loading up the cylinders on there by doing a power brake. I knew it was a secondary ignition system, so I swapped out the coil on there, and it took a little while because number 7's buried under the fuel pressure regulator. But we got that in there. Luckily I had a coil on hand also, a DG508, so you're able to swap that in there, and that took care of that. And the last thing I had to do was the power door locks. Now that was a chore because there's so many different areas to check on there, and then the schematics for the different build dates and stuff like that on there. What I found in the end, well, the problem was no power door locks. Not with the remote, not with the switches, wouldn't lock, wouldn't unlock. I had the scan tool out. I was talking to the module, wouldn't lock or unlock based on my commands from the scan tool. Nothing was working. I checked the grounds to the switches, no problem, but I had no power. Checked the fuse, just fine.
Prepare to keep left after 2 miles.
The first thing we had to do was make sure was find the relays after that, to see where they were actually at, and they're very hard to find because there's no real information in the workshop manuals on where they're at. Now I knew there was a relay junction block under the dash panel here for the transfer case shift motors and stuff like that, so I figured I'd go underneath there and I'd see there's another relay junction block under there, and sure enough there was, buried even further down. And I verified it by the fact that the power is coming in all these relays. There's 3 relays for this to happen, these power door locks. They were all black and white, so it splits off to about 10 different black and white wires, and it feeds all the relays under there, so it's pretty easy to identify. And sure enough, not getting no power. I gave it direct feed power from the battery, go over to the switches, everything works just fine. So what I did is I tapped off the transfer case shift motor junction block that had a constant hop there, and I was able to get power from that. That was like a 14 gauge wire coming in there, so it can easily handle a power door lock every once in a while. What are the chances of you going through a 4x4 shift and hitting the door lock and unlock on there? Even then, I'm pretty sure it can handle the amperage, because they don't take much amperage in the door lock actuators. So
in half a mile, keep
easy
left
fix.
Onto I-70
I was able to tap power off of there, constant hot power, which is what the relays require for the power door locks, and I was able to fix that for him also without running all these wires through all these chafe points on the vehicle or telling him tough luck. So pretty much everything I went there to do got done with what we had on board, which is absolutely great.